All right, so people, welcome again to MG Sports TV. As you guys know, we're keeping up with the schoolboy football and everything still going on with schoolboy football. You guys might think the schoolboy football season's over. Actually, it's not. There's still a big event coming up this Friday and Saturday called the Caribbean Premier Showcase, where the schoolboy footballers that you guys watch right through the duration, they would get the opportunity to showcase their skill set, what they can do in front of scouts, teams, just to get the opportunity to get that move either to college or a club or wherever. But today we'll be speaking with Brian James today. Owner of ProConnect Soccer, a professional soccer consulting firm. We'll be getting a lot more information about him. He'll be speaking to us directly, and also he's one of the persons who is heavily involved in the Caribbean Premier Showcase. First of all, let's get him on so you guys can see. Brian, first of all, how are you doing?
Doing fine. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year. It should be a good one. Hopefully, this is a good one for us all. So first of all, Brian, let's find out about you. What are you about, and how did you start or get involved in this?
Thank you, MG. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. So I was born in Chapelton, Clarendon.
Yeah.
It's the closest I came to color blue. I'm a color red man through and through.
Glenmuir.
Glenmuir alum.
Uh,
Yeah, 1996 Ben Francis Cup winner.
yeah.
And after that, um, I followed a similar path as we're trying to establish for some of these boys.
Mm-hmm.
I made the transition from Glenmuir to Division One soccer in the US. So I'm very familiar with the process of what it takes to make that transition from high school schoolboy football to collegiate sports, collegiate football here in the States. So I'm one of these young men that I'm trying to help create a platform for. As far as ProConnect soccer is concerned, after I finished up my collegiate years, got a couple of degrees out of it, I was going back and forth between Jamaica to try to create that bridge and help others like myself make the transition from schoolboy football to collegiate sports. So this is not something new. This is something I've been doing for a number of years now. Something changed in 2010. One of those young men that I helped, he got drafted number 10 in the 2010 Major League Soccer draft. And he signed with a prominent agency to remain nameless. And he got released in preseason, as what tends to happen to some of the draft picks in Major League Soccer. The agency ditched him once he got released. And he came back to the familiar face that he knew from helping him from schoolboy football to college for help. I was not in the agent business at that time. I was just trying to help schoolboy make that connection to college. And something clicked there that said, well, hold on a second, Brian, if you're helping these young men make the transition from schoolboy football to collegiate soccer, and they're good enough to make the next jump to the professional level, why not just continue the relationship with them after that? That's how ProConnect Soccer was born. I went ahead and got the FIFA license shortly thereafter, and I've been building my own repertoire and my own agency since 2011.
All right. So Pro Soccer Connect. What exactly do you guys do, and how other ways are you guys help other athletes or other footballers?
Okay, so we do a number of things. We recruit, obviously, and that's part of the impetus for me putting on my ProConnect hat, being involved in this Caribbean Premier Showcase, because it is going to put on display for these coaches that are coming from various colleges, the best talent across the island, just put it out there, are going to be on display. So I will have an opportunity to see some of maybe the next Damian Lowe that comes through the collegiate system, then maybe the next Andre Blake, the list goes on and on, the next Romario Williams, O'Neill Fisher, you name it. They may be there this weekend. So it's important for me with my ProConnect soccer hat to be able to see the next potential talents that are coming through the collegiate ranks and have an opportunity to meet them, to establish a relationship, develop a rapport, as well as to meet some of the coaches. Because as you might know, when a player makes the transition from schoolboy football to college, and he is good enough to then make the jump to Major League Soccer or some other professional ranks, the coach that he's been working with for the last 4 years has a significant influence on who is going to help manage this player's reputation or career going forward. So it's also important to have that relationship with some of the coaches that will be coaching these schoolboy footballers when they make, if and when they make the transition. So it's important for us to be in that conversation and in that environment, getting to meet not only the players but the coaches as well.
All right, so interesting. So as you have already told us how you got into the business, which is quite
Yes.
interesting. So for the Caribbean Premier Showcase now, how do you get involved in that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. As I mentioned, I've been on a smaller scale trying to bridge that gap between schoolboy football and collegiate sports for a number of years, but it hasn't been on anything of this scale as the Caribbean Premier Showcase. It was actually through my manager at Glenmuir that introduced me to Coach Oniki Samuels, who is doing yeoman's work putting this event together. And once Coach Samuels and I met and had a conversation, it was the marriage of two minds, people of similar mindset trying to give back to the place that we're from and the talent that we're familiar with. It immediately, the synergy was there. Why not put our resources and our energies together as opposed to doing separate events or smaller events? So once I met Coach Sammy and we had a conversation, it was an immediate synergy that was there, and it made sense to put our resources together and make something big and something sustainable happen for these young men. Yeah. Over the years that I've been working to build that bridge, I've also established a good number of connections at the different levels of college soccer, whether that be Division 1, Division 2, junior college. So I was able to bring some of those collegiate contacts to the showcase and add to the number of potential coaches that might be there. Not only that, but as an agent as well, over the years, I've built a number of contacts with professional clubs as well. So part of what I was able to bring was the connection to some of the professional agencies or professional clubs, I should say, that will have an interest in coming down and seeing the talent early in the process.
Have you worked with any Jamaican talent before, or other than the one that you mentioned earlier? How many have you worked with before?
Yeah, that's a good question, MG. I can think of the one that comes to mind right away that I think many Jamaicans might know. We actually worked with Javane Brown in his early career as he made the transition from University of South Florida to Vancouver Whitecaps. We managed him for a couple of years, helped negotiate that deal with Vancouver, and he still remains a good friend of the company. That's a name that many might be familiar with. There's another one that even though he's not playing anymore, but he's doing great things in the coaching ranks, is Ryan Thompson, former goalkeeper Ryan Gada Thompson. I and my agency managed Ryan's, I'm going to say his North American portion of his career once he left Shamrock Rovers in Ireland and came back to the States. We managed his career here in the States, and even till today, he consults with us when he's trying to make his various coaching decisions for coaching jobs and opportunities, and he's doing great things. He's actually one of the coaches that we're trying to get to come down to the showcase. He's currently at Houston Dynamo 2 right now. We currently manage Owen Turkleman Gordon, that some might know as well. We managed Duchesne Beckford. Those are some of the names that comes to mind right away, that others might be familiar with in the Caribbean and Jamaican market in particular.
But in the grand scheme of things, those are some high profile names compared to within the Jamaican bracket. So that would shed a lot of bright light. I said a light in the tunnel for many
Yeah,
persons who will be coming at this showcase. Question though,
yeah.
what do you expect to see at this showcase? What are your expectations at this showcase?
What I expect to see, I'm pretty confident of the level of talent that will be there because I've seen it even before the showcase leading up. I was at the Costa Cup Championship game a couple of weeks ago, still recovering from that. So I know the talent that will be there, MG.
So
And
did you see the final? The
I
Costa
did
Cup
see the
final?
final. I was there for the final. Um, as I mentioned, still recovering from that. So I expect to see top talent. I know that Coach Sammy and the rest of the organization is partnering with ISA. So I expect that it would be a high level of organization and a well ran event that coaches will be pleased with not only the talent, but the level of organization that will be on display.
Oh, certainly understand. And as I said, you expect to see a lot of things. What I see, Oniki is trying to get involved in, and it's something brilliant for me personally because most persons would know that I love where youth football is concerned. I love to see these youth excel and given that particular opportunity. Now, one thing I want to know, I want you to shed some light on this for me because the educational factor on where football is concerned because most of the times not the most talented players are the smartest. That's just what I've seen it all right throughout the years. Not just in Jamaica, it's a global thing.
Mhm.
What's your perspective on that and giving these kids also the opportunity despite they might not have such high grades or so how do we bridge that gap?
Yeah, listen, I'm glad you touched on that because I think that is an area for potential improvement. I believe that people like myself, people like Coach Sammy, and many others who are trying to help youth football in Jamaica need to get involved earlier in the process before the guys get to that last couple of years in high school when they're playing the Costa Cup. We need to start having conversations with them at the U14, U16 level when they're early in their high school career and advise them at that point of what they're going to need at the end of their career in order to make themselves even more marketable. Because what I see now happen, MG, is that some of the players who are the better talents don't have the grades to go directly into a Division One program. And statistically, the Division One programs are the ones that lead to the MLS draft picks. If you look at it over the number of years, you'll see most 90% or more of the MLS, the Jamaican MLS draft picks, came out of Division One institutions. So if you're getting making that jump to Division Two, fantastic for your career and your education and your long-term trajectory. But if you have an idea of and an ambition to play in Major League Soccer, then Division One is really where you want to land. So I think we need to start having the conversation with these young men at U16 level, U14 level about listen, you can't just ignore the grades and just do what it the bare minimum to get by. And then come fifth form, you're gonna get a few CXCs, CSECs, you're not going to have the body of work to qualify for Division One if that's the approach. So I think that we need to have some conversation, some education earlier in the process about what the end game might look like with these young men.
And that's a very, very interesting topic in my view because, um, as I said, we need to get involved with these players as early as possible. Because what I realize that there's this culture now in Jamaica that's developing that everyone wants to go pro, everyone wants to go overseas, everyone wants that big contract, that specific contract, and we're so eager to go and get that contract, we neglect everything else. Now, a topic that I want to touch on is I know you know, but I want you, because you're in the system, to put more clarity to it. The difference between the Division 3, 2, and 1, as you mentioned, where 1 is easy to get into the MLS draft. I want you to shed some light on that because a lot of persons, especially younger youths, they don't understand the difference, and they are getting a lot of interest from Division 3 teams, and they in their mind it's Division 1. They're getting interest from Division 2 colleges, and in their mind it's Division 1. So they believe that once they get there, they'll make that big step to the MLS and whatever. Can you just shed some light on that aspect of it for us, please?
Sure. I will say this as a disclaimer. A young man from wherever in Jamaica making the transition from schoolboy football to even Division 3 and getting an education is a fantastic achievement. I want to set that stage and that clarity to begin with, because it could change the trajectory and will of his life going forward if he follows through and get that degree and maybe even end up staying in America, working in corporate America or wherever. However, if his ambition is to make the jump and be eligible for the Major League Soccer draft, then Division 1 is really where he would want to be. There are different, without getting into the details, there are different um, requirements for the different levels. It might be easier to get into a Division 3 from an academic standpoint because the academic standards are different between Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, junior college, right? So the academic standards are different. Division 1 has the highest academic standard. There's the NCAA clearinghouse. I compare the NCAA to the ISA, if you will. It's the governing body of Division 1 and Division 2 collegiate sport. So there's that clearinghouse that the player will need to be eligible to even qualify for a Division 1 scholarship. So the academic hurdles are higher at the Division 1 and Division 2 level, which means that they need to pay more emphasis on the academic part of their studies throughout the process of their high school career if they have an ambition for going to Division 1 or Division 2. The level of exposure is also higher at Division 1 and Division 2 level. Those are NCAA division sports. The platform is higher. There's the postseason tournament, the NCAA tournament that Division 1 teams qualify for after the regular season is over, which is a huge platform because a lot of the professional clubs, they go to that postseason tournament because that's the best of the best. That's the elite teams that make it to that postseason tournament. So the platform is higher as well. The visibility is higher at that level to be exposed to the professional ranks and the professional recruiters.
All right, well said, well said.
One more thing I wanted to add too. The financial resources are also higher at the Division 1 and the Division 2 level. So what I'll see is some players who are eligible for junior college or Division 3, they typically have to try to come up with some of the scholarship money themselves because the lower tier that you go, the financial resources are
limited,
less. So if you're trying to get that full scholarship, you need to be thinking about Division 1 because as you go lower, even the financial resources become more constrained.
All right. So let me put it in this perspective now. Say, I'm extremely talented, right? But I'm not smart. Most persons in football will probably say the same thing about me. So I'm not smart. And I got the opportunity to play for Division 3 team. And I took that opportunity, and I'm now there.
Yeah.
How easy or how difficult is it, I should say, for me to make the transition from the Division 1 team and from the Division 3 team to pounce into a Division 3 team? How difficult, or Division 2 teams, sorry, my apologies. How difficult would that be for me? And what are some of the areas that I would need assistance or need to fix up to make that transition? Because I would fall into Division 3, but because I'm so good, Division 2 teams are also looking at me and other
Right.
interests. But still, because of the academics and stuff, it's still kind of
Yeah.
shady. Give us some
Right.
some light on that one.
Yes. You have to start where you can fit in, right? So if your academics put you at even a junior college, a 2-year institution, or a Division 3, that's where you got to start. At the end of the day, MG, it comes down to productivity. If you're at whatever division you're at, junior college Division 3, and you're producing, you're scoring goals, you're having clean sheets, you're shutting out people, you're leading the nation in junior college at shutouts if you're a goalkeeper, or clean sheets, or whatever the case may be, or goals if you're an attacking player. If you're producing, regardless of where you're at, if you're producing at that elite level, you're going to draw some eyes to you. You're going to draw some eyes to you. So I would say that what you would need to do to make the jump is to go ball out and produce at the level that you are at, and that will draw eyes to you. Like, hold on a second, this Division 3 striker is leading the nation in goals, and this is his freshman year. He just got to this institution. There might be something there. Let's see if we can investigate it. So I think it starts with having that level of productivity wherever you get in, and as well as doing what you need to do academically to lift your standard to be eligible for making a jump up to the next level. So you can't come into the Division 3 or junior college and still be passive with the academics like you were in high school, which caused you to get to that level to begin with. You're going to have to improve that. And in my experience, regardless of the level of institution, these colleges, universities, junior colleges, they put the resources behind the players, one, to keep them eligible because they did all this work to get them there. But at the end of the day, the player has to take advantage of the resources that is before them. So improve your academics wherever you're at, and make sure that you're producing at a high level, and you'll get eyes on you to be able to make that transition to a higher division.
So in the event, say I improve my academics and
Yeah.
ball out in D3, make the step to D2. As I mentioned, academics improve, but after like mid-season, there's a big regress in performance, where that is concerned. So academic is still there, but
Yeah.
performance have significantly dropped. Um, how would they view me at that point in time? What would the coach look at me and said maybe something different? What do I need to do at that point in time? Is it can be asked, can be a psychological thing? In the concept of is this where your professionalism would come in place, where the consultant would come in place trying to find out what the issue, what's if something is deviating me from the performance?
Not necessarily, because we're in this scenario that you've just outlined. We're still talking about amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about collegiate
Mm-hmm.
players. ProConnect soccer is not in this equation because they're amateurs,
Mm-hmm.
and there are certain rules about how amateurs and agents and agencies can engage. But with that said, there's also the Caribbean Premier Showcase hat that I wear, and just
Oh.
the amateur part of it, not the professional part of it. So we're still talking about amateurs here.
Mm-hmm.
If this is a player that we had a relationship with, and he came through the Caribbean Premier
You would
Showcase,
have no jurisdiction.
touched on this. maintain contact with those players and would be in a position to have a conversation with him to help understand, is it a change of climate that you move in? What's causing the regress in the performance? So yes, I would be able to, not wearing the ProConnect soccer hat, if you understand what I'm saying, and the professional piece and the agent piece, but just as a member of the Caribbean Premier Showcase and someone who helped to facilitate this, having a conversation. And this is something that has happened in my career from time to time, where I still, there's a number of players that I work with that are at Bethel University in Tennessee. And when they came over, we talked on a regular basis. How's the transition? How are you doing? How's your diet? The diet is different from what you used to have back home, but you have to assimilate. How are you doing integrating with the rest of your team and the school body? So yes, I would have a conversation with the player just to help to understand what might be the root cause of the regression, and try to work with him and the coach as well to make sure that the player gets back to the level that he wants and needs to be to help his team.
All right. So we're going to touch on the final question, but this is a big question, and this is something that I've seen for many years. A lot of players get an opportunity to go overseas, and then 2 3 years they're back in Jamaica. Just about. What are some of the difficulties that some of these college players go over there and would have gone over there and face that would impede them making that big step going forward?
Yes. Some of the things that these players that we're going to see this weekend could expect that could adversely affect them. I think some of the obvious ones that come to mind is the climate. Obviously, you know what the climate is in Jamaica is like. Coming to Nebraska, for example, or some of these states where even in the fall the weather can be quite frigid, that could affect a player. I've worked with some players that made the transition from schoolboy football to Iowa, which can be a very frigid place in the winter and even in the fall. So the change of climate is something that the boys have to anticipate depending on where they're going. Not everybody's going to make the jump to a school in Florida, right? As much as they would all love that. That's something that could impact a player. The player also needs to mentally be prepared to be away from home, away from his environment where he's comfortable. He has his family, his network there around him all the time. Now you're going to some place where you don't know anyone, right? It's something that could affect a player, and it might take him some time to adjust to the change of culture. I mentioned earlier the change of diet. Now you got a coach is telling you need to eat pasta for energy before the game. Well, pasta, you're used to jerk chicken or whatever, rice and peas, and you're not
KC,
getting that on a
Island
regular
Grill.
basis. Exactly. So it might seem like a small thing, but the diet changes in diet might be something that you find that a player may not be eating like he is supposed to. Then that affects his energy and his focus in class. Those are some of the things that could affect a player that Coach Sammy and the rest of the staff and myself, we advise players. That's something that we'll be doing when we meet with them over the weekend, is provide that level of advice for, and the coaches as well will tell them, these are some of the things that you can expect. The climate might be different. The culture might be different. The diet might be different. These are all things. The academic and athletic expectations might be different as well when you make that transition to collegiate sports. Now, the good players might get away with certain things in schoolboy football. It's a much more professional environment, even though it's not pro, so to speak. But the environment, you need to be at practice at 2 o'clock and not a minute later. Well, you can't just waltz in at 215. You understand what I'm saying? Or 210. So just the expectations of, I need to be here, I need to be in the gym, I need to be on this point right after class, I need to get on a shuttle bus to get over to here. Those are things that the players might need to be adjusted to as well, and it could impact them. But in my experience, they typically get over that because these boys are hungry and they want it, and they typically figure it out, even if the things that I've mentioned impacts them for some period of time. They ultimately figure it out, most of them.
Okay, interesting. All right, Mr. James, I want to say congrats on the work that you guys have been doing. Really, really can't wait to get on the floor with you guys and see what's going to happen for Friday, Saturday. And going forward from here, I do think that this could be a sort of a really, really good relationship. You guys, both you and Sammy, and all the other members of staff have been doing great, tremendous work with the Caribbean Premier Showcase. I'm looking forward to see what the results of this. First time working with you guys, so I'm really, really edging to see what's going to happen, how things are going to work out. And I do think I've been getting a lot of information, a lot of calls, a lot of messages saying, how can we be a part of it? Oh, I'm going to ask Oniki about it, about other players' involvement, because a lot of people are asking me about it. So I'm going to get that off here and see what Oniki has to say about it. But thank you very much again, Brian. Really, really appreciate you coming on. Over half an hour to speak with me. I know you're a busy person, and I want to say big up on the work you guys are doing, and we'll see how this one progress forward from here. And congrats again, Brian James.
And thank you for creating a platform for us to get the message out. Really appreciate that as well.
Thanks, sir.
Bye-bye.
All right, people. So as I mentioned, that is Brian James from the Talent Showcase, well, the Caribbean Premier Showcase, as you guys know, with our schoolboy football competition just completed. We're going to see a lot of things. A lot of these talents get the opportunity to showcase what they can do on a larger scale where football is concerned. It's very, very important that this is really, really important, really, really important for the youngsters in Jamaica. And this is an opportunity for them to show what they can do and get opportunity to scholarship. You know that go already. So big up on yourself, people. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button and share it. Let other persons see what's going on here in Jamaica. See the opportunity that's been presented in front of them. So big up on yourself, people. Thank you very much for tuning again. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, MG Sports TV. Road people. Boom.